everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Nia. I'm your host, Nia Black Amuzi, and I'm so excited to be back with panel conversations again. For the past 2 weeks, I've been moderating political panels, so it feels good to be back home, to be in this very casual setting. I'm super excited. Today, we're going to be going in. Our topic is very sensitive for some and controversial for others. And so today, we'll be talking about Americans and African Americans. As an African American, would you marry an African? And as an African, would you marry an African American? I am so honored to have this robust panel. They're going to break it down. I'm so excited to have them. Panelists, please introduce yourselves and we can go right into the questions for today.
Hello, my name is Kese. I'm from South Africa.
Hello, my name is Yolanda and I'm from Michigan.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Coleman and I'm from Dallas.
Jovi, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Jovi Obus. I'm from Nigeria.
Okay. We have a very diverse panel. There's someone else on the panel who's not here at the moment. I think her connection is just acting up, but she's going to log back on. There she is. Laneka, you want to introduce yourself? We're waiting for you.
I am so sorry. I am Monica Taibu. I am so sorry about that.
No problem. All right, panelists, let's go right into asking the questions. My first question for you guys, as an African or an African American, would you date or marry an African or African American? Who wants to go first? Who wants to take it away? Laneka, go ahead.
Okay, so yes, as an African American, I will be African. And so currently, and the reason why I say that is because now I have previously married to an exception king, which is African. And he's from Nigeria, and we have been having an exceptional journey. So, reason why you asked me, was that the question?
Yeah. Would you marry an African?
Yes, I am married.
So I'm not sure what's happening. It's
echoing. So it is
yeah, it's okay. I don't know what's happening.
Let me.
Okay, all right. So who wants to go next? Let's take it away. Who wants to go next? Would you as an African American? If you're not gonna,
well, I would go next, and I think I probably missed the opportunity to introduce myself as well. My name is Mayo McKinday, born here and spent half my life in Nigeria, half of my life in United States. Actually, more than half. So those even the terminology itself, I don't even know how to handle it. The idea of African and African American. I think we're all African Americans. It's just and the generations in which we were moved. I consider myself a first and second generation African American, and others are multi-generation. But to the question, of course, I will marry either or. I mean, it's all about the person. It's the content of the person's character and the individual who they are. It doesn't really matter what their origin is or any kind of label on them. But I do certainly appreciate the opportunity to join you on this good conversation.
We're so excited to have you. Who else wants to go next?
I'll go next. My name is Jeffrey Coleman. Thank you for the opportunity. And yes, I would marry an African. I'm an African American male, and I would definitely marry an African because an African is part of me. So yeah, I see no difference.
Okay, we can okay, you guys are all positive. That's interesting. I want to hear from you.
Well, I guess my perspective is going to be really different because I only started dating cross-culturally when I left South Africa, and I'm based in Vietnam. And I'm still wishy-washy on the idea. I'm open to it, but I'm not definite about it because of just my experience having experienced African American abroad. So
Okay.
yeah, I
Okay.
cannot say for sure.
Okay, then that's fine. Completely okay. So Yolanda, I want to hear from you. Then I want to go back to Kenya so I can hear your reasons why, your experiences.
Well, I've have dated African men, and first of all, I like African American men, but I've dated African men, and for me personally, it depends. It depends on culturally, if I can fit in. Also, it depends on religiously because I'm not Muslim, so therefore I'm Christian, so I wouldn't date an African man that is Muslim.
Okay.
And that's just my personal thing. Um, I have to be able to um, we both have to respect each other's cultures, respect each other's differences because there is a difference. And we can't say that I'm here and he's there. But if he's here, it's not so much of a difference because he is brought up in where I'm brought up. So we're like more or less together. He's just from another, his background is from another country. But as far as the whole continent of Africa, I can't say that I will date or be okay with all of them. There's just certain countries that I have visited that I'm okay. Like Nigerians, they're a little bit different because I like global, even men here, I like them to be global. If they're not global, then you're going to have a problem with me because you just in your own little pocket. I've met a lot of Nigerian men and they didn't seem so different as far as where I am because I think they're more, they have a lot of things, as far as, they've done this, they did this, they've seen a lot of things and everything. So therefore, when I speak, they understand where I'm coming from. So, it's just different. And even here it's different. I just have to have someone that understands me and I have to be willing to understand them. So,
Okay.
It's like this. I can date, but it depends on the man. That's what it is. Depends on the man. Exactly.
Okay, so Chris, I want to come back to you. What experiences have you had with African Americans that makes you a little not so into dating or marrying an African American as an African yourself? You're muted, Kese.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess for me, I hope Americans don't take this offensive. Americans have a tendency of making everyone around them feel like they're on the outside looking in. And I don't think they do it consciously. It's subconscious and they don't feel it. And saying that, I feel like we were all portrayed differently to each other over the media. Right? We were shown Black Americans as thugs who wore do-rags, and that's what we emulated every day when we thought about you guys. And I guess you also had an idea of us, probably just having lions in our backyards, right? But what I feel is like with the internet and everything, Africans have made more of an effort to get to know and understand American culture than you guys have. As a result, when Black American men approach us, they approach us in a light that we probably need something from them, which we don't. So that's why for me, I need to know that you have like an understanding of where I'm from and who I am. Like I'm just not your idea of whatever an African is. I'm like an entire well-rounded individual. And I don't think Americans do that. I don't think you go out of your way. I mean, your politics are headlines in our countries, You know, we engage with your politics, and look at the Black Lives Matter movement. We South Africans were championing it, but I don't feel like there's the same energy. And therefore, I feel like I cannot relate to you guys.
Wow, very powerful, Kese. I want to hear from you, Jeffrey. Do you have a response to that? Do you feel like Africans in general feel this way towards African Americans? And then maybe you, what are your perceptions towards Africans? What conversations have you guys had behind the scene about Africans and dating Africans?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nia, for that. You know, these are some great points. One of the things that I really think that we got to look at is that, you know, we mentioned the media. We really don't know each other. I think Africans and African Americans don't really know each other. And I think it's like now that the internet is coming forth and we actually seeing the beauty of the motherland and the understanding of what the African culture has to give and to be able to partake in it. I mean, we're just fascinated with it. I mean, getting a chance to understand and know more about the culture, the dating scene, the understanding of you know, how our similarities and differences can come together and coexist. I think one of the things that Americans have done, African Americans, is that we are still under the same tyranny of slavery. And I'm going to probably jump in and kick it over into some things where you know, it might be a little bit off. So Nia, if I'm going off, you know, just bring me back. But
go for it. No, I want to hear this. I want to hear this.
Yeah, I think that one of the things is that right now we as African Americans, we don't really understand who we are, and that we really don't know. And what we have adopted are the similarities of of the slave masters. And so right now we are still learning, have learned and come to their culture. And now that we come back to the native home of Africans, you know, that we're not learning. So we're saying, oh, that's foreign. Why do you do it that way? We do it this way here in America. When in actuality, the way that you know is done in Africa is the way that we should be doing it. We should have a more respect. We should be more, you know, geared towards learning. And I think every place you go, there's always going to be some good and bad in it. But I think as a whole, we got to look at African Americans are still under the mindset as trying to have an identity of who we are, and at the same time trying to instead of trying to cohese and be cohesive with our African sisters and brothers and being able to cross pollinate, we're more trying to say, no, you need to be like us. And the same thing, and on the other side, I got to jump on this other side, and I'll keep my response short, is that I think a lot of the African people that I've encountered have wanted to try to take the American dream and really understanding that the American dream is a nightmare for us as African people, because you know that they're not really wanting us to be part. If you go in, you look at the internet now, there's always, this is the first African American whatever. This is the first African American whatever, and this is 2020. And why are we right now not being able to be at the table, sitting down and being a part of it? And so when you start looking at it, so it's always a misnomer, because we both need to have our visions checked, and from the African side as well as the African American, so that we can know that, you know, get beyond the myth and be able to really talk about it and understand that it goes more beyond the culture of the food, the dress, and that it goes back into the unity, the family base, the understanding that right now we don't have that as a totality. And we're always, you know, in our last point, and I promise I'll be quiet, but the last point is that Africans, Americans are so cared, so want to be included, that, you know, we do all these type of challenges. If anything comes out and, you know, anything that's put before us, we do it. We had the ice bucket challenge. We have set ourselves on fire challenge. We have eating soap pies or whatever. And so the thing about it is we're trying to get an identity, and we're trying to resonate. And I think if we actually could bridge the gap between Africa and African Americans and showing that how we can come together as a unity, instead of saying I would never date an African, understanding that this is where a pool of more resources that I could come in and be able to connect with my roots, understanding, that I can learn the value system. I can learn how to take the beauty that Africa has to offer. And so I think that's one of the things we have.
I'm going to cut you here. Yeah, no, thank you for agreeing. People are agreeing with you in the comment. I'm going to go to the comment shortly. But I want to say this to everyone watching. If you're loving this conversation, please comment. I want to hear your thoughts. Would you date an African if you're an African American? If you're an African, would you date an African American? Do you guys agree with Kese? All the Africans in the house, did you hear her point? Or do you guys agree here with Jeffrey, who's more focused on unity? So at this time, again, I forgot to say, yes, if you also like the conversation, please share it. Okay, share it on Facebook, share it on YouTube, send the link around. I want this to be a community conversation. I want to go to you, Mayo. Did you hear Kese's point? She said, sometimes African Americans are entitled. Can you guys mute? If you're not speaking, please mute. Exactly, perfect. So Kese said, African Americans have this sense of entitlement, right? They feel like they're all in all, right, Kese? Is that what you said, or am I?
Not that self-entitlement per se. It's just that they do have a tendency of making everybody feel like they're on the outside looking in. So it reminds me of a girl gang, when you're in high school and they've got that tendency of carrying themselves like the coolest kids in the group. And I feel like they are not aware of how it comes off to other people. I mean, even where I am in Vietnam, I struggled to right away get to make friends with African Americans. I was always with the Nigerian, the predominantly African crew of people that I would just hang out with. And even here we are kind of divided, and it's not a case where everybody's always hanging together. So I just
that's completely okay. So let me go to Mayo. Mayo, do you agree with Kesa? So she said her point. That's clearly do you agree with?
Right. So, first of all, and again, I'm just glad I'm in the conversation, and my brother here said a whole lot that I would like to say as well. So, I mean, I kind of agree with a lot of what he was saying, and the way where I come in, I've always felt like I had this hybrid situation, where, being born here and all that, going to for small school in Africa and coming back, when going to a white school, all white school, most in Marysville, Ohio, coming back to Columbus, going to all black school. It was just like I was being thrown here and there. But one thing I can say is that I see some of what Casey is talking about, and I see what she can be having that perspective. Because I remember coming out of college and met some young sisters here who were first and second generations as well. And the whole idea when they shared their experience in high school and and how they were picked on and all kind of stuff. I could resonate with those experiences that I felt when I was in high school. But I guess. At that point in my life, I was lucky enough to have gotten over it. I mean, so at some point, we get over it and we realize the bigger goal, the bigger picture. This is the same when they came out of college, and when I was the whole time I was in college, I never knew about Marcus Garvey, never knew about Malcolm X, never knew about Kwame Nkrumah, people who have talked about Pan-Africanism, about unity. About it, we can only be better if we are together, if we think together, if we don't even call ourselves Africans or African Americans no more, because to some level there's a negative connotation that goes on Africa. There's a stigmatization of Africa that's been going on all around the world. I mean, for so long by the non-African nations. So we know that, and if we know that, we have to act better and not call each other, oh, those African Americans. I mean, I even tell folks who are first and second generation African Americans that if you are here right now, you're one of them folks that Trump was talking about. Talking about, most likely you probably are not going back to live in Africa at some point, or most likely your children who were born here are probably not going to go back. And I apologize to my mom and dad who might have different ideas, but the idea is that once you know that, what's the phrase African American, because you are an African American. We're all African American, we're just of different generations. So those ways are other ways that we separate each other without knowing. It's a subliminal way to separate each other without knowing, and we have to think deeply about it and just find a way to be the bigger person, so to speak, to the crazies or crazy, right? To the folks who are dealing with that at the moment, you have to find a way to just be the bigger person and call people in and let them know that we are all one, even though we call each other brothers and sisters and it's not real. In our practice, we have to start practicing in a real way. I can't wait till the day we go off mundane conversations like this and get into conversation where people are already married and where the in-laws don't a U.S. African trade business. You know, that's where I want to go to. How can we get to the point where we're doing U.S. African trade? You know, and we're pushing our government to do those kind of things, and people are making money. And our neighborhoods are now talking about my investment in Africa, in some African country, like you know, Mogadishu or whatever, you know, somewhere in Africa, you know. So those Zimbabwe, the average one of us here does not know how many countries are in Africa, did not know what the OAU, which is not an AU, did not know what that is. We have to educate each other. It's all about the re-education of Negroes all around the globe. That's what we have to do. So
Okay, okay, that was awesome. I want to read some comments right now. We have some comments in. Again, speakers, if you're not speaking, please mute your phone so we don't have the echo. Thank you so much. Mute your microphones. All right, so Diara Diang said, being a Black American married to a Senegalese man, you have to be open to accepting aspect of their culture and willing to choose which culture will be dominate in the household. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. So Shatadi said, it's just about learning from each other and understanding cultural differences. All right. So FBA Nigel said, apartheid was well supported by Black Americans. And this is in response to you, Kese. Tamar Smith said, I definitely understand Kese's point. That was to you, Kese. I do need to watch African movements. Right? So now Uche said, I think she should address it as most Americans, not Americans. This is to you, Casey. They're coming for you in the comments. Because I have a few Black American friends that think completely different from this way, but I totally understand what she is saying. So Barbara is just saying, great topic. This conversation is a great call for unity. This agrees with what Mayo was saying and Jeffrey. For all Black people, if we are to say Black Lives Matter. More comments coming in. I'm going to go through before I go to you, Yolanda. I want to hear from you next. So Diara also added and said, yes, learning is key. Black Americans tend to think like Americans, that everybody should do things the way we do things, and that's not true. Let me see if there are any other comments I can pull up. Let's see. Okay, so Uche said, thank you for expressing our unspoken feelings, Kesen. Most of them are not receptive and they don't understand that they come through in that way. So Yolanda, just with all of the sentiments, what are your thoughts right now? You're African American.
Well, first of all, you have 400 years of mind, you know, where our minds are. Also, in order for us to be together, I think we have to attack the school system. And the reason why I said that is because when I was going to school, the first thing they said to us, we're not African. We're not African. And no one has accepted that to say, you know, why are you thinking like that? Don't you think that you're African? Why you feel that you're not African? Because as a little child, they said that we're not African. My grandmother said that she's been named 5 times. 5 times. African American is the last time that we've been named, but we have been named 5 times because they don't seem like they don't know where to put us. Who are you? Where are you? Are you African? Are you over here? Are you Nigerian? Are you South African? They don't know what to put us, you know, so we're the person, like, you know, my kids are more apt to say, you know, okay, I have an African person in my classroom, so I'm understanding. I mean, I can talk to her. She's speaking to me. But when I was going to school, they didn't say that. They said we had African history, then we had Black history, and they never put them together. So therefore, now you in the 2000, you know, year 2000s and things like that. Now everyone wanted to say, okay, you're not. Okay, we're all African now, but you got to understand 30, 40, and my grandmother would never call herself African because that is not what they called us. And no one would say that. You know, right now, I have gone into stores and I'm with my girlfriend. She's from Africa. And a white woman would say, oh, you're from Africa. She wouldn't point at me. Because she said, oh, you're American, you're African American. She wouldn't point. So it's still that division. We go somewhere, it's a division. So I think that in order for us to come together, we have to start with the kindergartners, with the preschool, and teach them that, okay, you're from Africa, you're this, and that. They don't teach us that. You know, and that's the thing that, you know, it's not our blame. It's the whole country. And America, we have always done that in America. You can go Anybody can go to another country, and Americans would think, okay, I'm never a foreigner. And I was telling my friend in Nigeria, we're never a foreigner. We go to another country, and what are we? We're America in a foreign land. But when Africans come over there, they're immigrants or foreigners. That's our mindset. That's American mindset. No, wherever you go wherever you go around the world, we're never foreigners. And if you look at the website, if you look at the TV, you can say, oh, they're Americans. They're in this country. They're Americans in this country. But we're never immigrants. I can immigrate to Nigeria. I'm not an immigrant. I'm an American, but I'm in Nigeria or I'm in another country. And that's our whole mindset over here, good or bad, but that's our mindset. We live in this country, and that is how we think. And like I said, that thinking comes from the school system. The school system told us that we weren't African. So that's mine.
Yolanda, you're saying that it's all about that historical divide, right? We have someone in the comment saying it's the divide, historical divide. Laneka, are you with us?
I am with you all, and I apologize. I feel like but I feel like I'm in Nigeria with this network issue today. I think I've been talking and responding to my husband so much. We talk 24/7. I feel like it didn't translate it to my network today. I'm so sorry.
No, Laneka, that's okay. You've been watching my show. You know how it is when I interview people in Nigeria. It is a hot mess. But you know what?
But I'm here in Houston. I'm not even in Nigeria today, but I feel like
I did crochet. Yes, I did. But you know what?
But that's how much love I have for let me tell you, I love my Africans. So
Rebecca, I want to ask you a specific question. You're married. You're an African-American woman. You're married to an African man for 3 years now. You made that comment when I posted the flyer. I want to ask you, what's your experience like marrying an African man? Share with us, because I'm sure it's very different, right, from dating even an African-American person.
Yes. Let me tell you my experience. And just being honest, it has been a exceptional journey. The thing is, marrying my husband and building a friendship with my husband, that was the first thing. And the first day I talked to my husband being two different cultures, my husband actually said our house was going to be built on God's foundation. That was the key. When he actually said it wasn't a culture thing, it was basically because our house was going to be built on a God's foundation. It blew my mind. And he said then once it was built on God's foundation, our house was going to be built on our friendship, our relationship. It would be built on what was going to be best for us. And then I knew our relationship would be great, because it wasn't going to be about him being African. It wasn't going to be about me being American. And then it was about us understanding each other. Because that very first day, we talked for over 12 hours. Here in America, we say things to hear our wordings can be very offensive to an African person. And I was just being funny for over 12 hours. And I had used the word to my husband, crazy. I was like, oh, you're so crazy. I did not know that my husband was so upset. I was just his friend. We were just talking 12 hours. He was so upset that whole time, but not displaying it, not saying anything about it. But our mutual friends that had connected us together, he had mentioned it to him that day. And they had to let him know that this is the American culture. It's jokingly. They say that being funny and different things. But as Africans, everyone that's on the panel know, you all take that to be a mental person. But understanding, he could have took that and missed out on an exceptional queen like me if he would have gotten very offensive by it. He could have cut me off by me just saying that word, but it was basically having an understanding. and him finding out, going to find out, look, she called me crazy on this phone. Mm-hmm. So basically, building, it wasn't about a cultural thing. So I truly believe knowing God, having God in your life, having patience, and being able to communicate with one another. That's what my experience had been. That's the reason why we're going 3 years strong.
That's amazing. That's very beautiful, Emeka. Thanks for sharing your experience. So we have another panelist who keeps going in and out. I think his connection is also from Nigeria. His connection is also bad. You know what? Let me just say this. I am 100% Nigerian. If you know me, I am from my people. But that internet connection, you guys, it is next level. I'm going to read some comments because some comments are coming in. And I want to, just shift this a little bit, shift the conversation a little bit. So we have this response from Tema. Tema said, as an African American, answering the topic question of would you marry an African-born man? Sorry. My answer is yes. I have my reasoning. And after my first experience of dating an African man, I was more open to the idea. As long as he's not just looking for his papers. Oh. This was going to be my next. This is going to be my next point. And we'll come back to this thing. We're going to come back to this. Now, Brittany Abiolu said, I have a Nigerian father and a Black American mother. I always felt like I was both Nigerian and American. Nigerians tell me I'm not Nigerian, and Black Americans think I'm Nigerian, LOL. She continues, it's like you can't identify with both sides of you. You can't identify with both sides. You have an African parent and a Black American parent. People act like you have to pick a side. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then Tema responded, said, to Brittany's statement, the Nigerian man I dated don't feel that American Nigerian-born people are true Nigerians because you're not born there going through the Nigerian struggle. So these are all very, very interesting sentiments. So Tyler said, network is so great in Nigeria, depends on your location.
That's my husband.
That's your husband. That's your husband commenting. So for the African Americans on the panel, or as some would like to say, Black Americans on the panel, have you had this conversations or heard people say this, that they don't want to date Africans because Africans are just there for green cards? Have you guys heard those comments? And so what else do people say aside from that for the African Americans in the panel? So that's Jeffrey, Yolanda, and Laneka.
Well, I'll go in, and we heard that most people want to come over, like I said, for the American dream. They want to come in, and if I can marry someone and get citizenship, and I can come over, and I've heard all those myths, and have friends that actually did that. I had some friends that went in and actually had a business. They were marrying people and doing the process, and there was a side business on that. I mean, and they made lots of good money. I went to Grambling State University and had several friends that did that. And it was just one of the things that you could do. And, people were willing to pay the price, for the dream.
Do you ever think, Jeffrey, that we can ever shake off that perception? Can African Americans shake off that perception that Africans are just here for the papers? Because I feel like that's preventing us from moving forward.
Yeah, to be honest with you, the recipe for this is totally. I mean, I love the topic. I love what we're talking about and how we're getting together on if I would marry one. But I think one of the things is we have to bridge the gap and be able to set up an understanding. Once we get aware and be able to bridge and show the benefit of coming together as a unity and showing that, right now, the infrastructure that they have in problems in Nigeria, right? We have people that are here, Africans that are African Americans that can come back in and take their talents and come in and help with the infrastructure there. It's time for us to come together, use the technology and the things that we have, and come back to our motherland to be able to have that understanding of how we can bring what we learned over here. The first thing is that I forgot the panel said that we've been named 5 times. I mean, the thing is they keep trying to identify who we are when we already been identified with the fact that we are Africans that were stolen and brought over to this land, and that we are still in the process of that same act, because but-for rule. In law, it says the but-for rule. It said if this not had happened, then this other thing would not have occurred. If slavery hadn't taken place, then I would still be in Africa and all the things. And so when you get in, it's a broader dynamics of understanding. But I think in the totality of it, how we're going to bridge the gap and get rid of the scams and people thinking that I'm a Nigerian priest and I have money and send me money and I can give you wealth. All this stuff is part of the media and the mindset to keep us divided. Because if we ever came together and realized two great forces, I'm gonna give you one thing right now: hydrogen and oxygen by themselves are both powerful things. But if you put hydrogen and oxygen together, you get water, and that is life. And so the thing about it is, African Americans need to realize that we need each other. Come together from a unified point. Understand that we can take the best of both sides, come in and be able to infiltrate into each other. And understanding that if you get beyond what the world says and what the people are trying to portray, then you can go in. The last point is my wife and I, we watch Bollywood, right? And Nollywood. And we was like, oh yeah, we love it, And the first time we came in, and I forgot the movies, she watched all the time, Flower Girl and some of the other ones, and it was like the first time we saw the mansions and the compounds that you guys have, the sophistication. And it was like, wow, this is just amazing. And then we started going in and looking at videos and started getting to understand. That's when we got our passports. We're ready to come. As soon as the pandemic is over, we want to come over and start that bridge in that gap. But you have to set up and understand it, because until you're able to get to a baseline of understanding that here's how we can work together, then you will never be able to have a true love connection. Because
thank you, Jeffrey. Yeah, Jeffrey, if you don't mind, I'm gonna have to cut you there because I want to hear from Kese. Kese, you've been like just literally bending your head. I feel like you're taking notes. You have a lot to say from when I talked about the internet connection up until this moment. Girl, let us know, what are you thinking? The whole paper issue, what are you thinking?
The paper issue. The paper issue for me is so frustrating that it sticks so much for Africans. I see Black Americans marry women from Europe, from Russia, from everywhere. This has never been a barrier for them, but somehow when it's time to date Africans, this is an issue. And for me, it's kind of weird. I mean, I had a guy who could have potentially been my boyfriend that I had been seeing for a while, but he was baffled at the fact that I didn't want to move to America. So it's just things like that I just feel like Americans, I don't know, choose to not pay attention to. I mean, the American dream is a thing, but not all of us aspire to that. And I think you ignore that as a people.
No, very well said. Any other add-ons before I move on to my next question? Maybe Mayo, I haven't heard Mayo, then Laneka.
Yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, back off Nigerian internet, whatever situation. They're trying, they're doing well. What the leaders are not trying enough. I leave it at that. But the people are trying, and I leave it. But back to the issue about the paper and all that. It's been so bad to the point where the president of the United States picked it up and talked about it. How that's when they talked about the whatever they called us. I don't want to go and use the word that he used, but called Nigerians and Haitians who are coming to the country who would not leave or whatever and all that stuff. Well, it is what it is. It is what it is. United States is one of the countries in the West that folks aspire to be in for economical development, to better feed their families and all that stuff. These are some of the things that we fight on. These folks are taking our jobs and all this kind. These are some of the things we fight on, but we forget that there are enough resources around the globe for us all. And it's all about education. It's about education, making sure that we can educate ourselves to own our own business and do trade and provide a service to somebody and be compensated well for that service you're providing. So it's all about educating. I mean, it don't matter as much as you want to fight off, quote unquote. I'm not going to use the word. Again, I hate using the word Africans because it's a negative connotation too, and until we realize that and redefine ourselves. But first and second generations, you can push back on those immigrants from the African nations as much as you want, but there's gonna be immigrants from the Hispanic nation that's gonna come in. Somebody's gonna come from somewhere. If you push back on them enough, there's gonna be immigrants from the Asian nations that gonna come in. So I look at America as a United Nations, a capital of United Nations, where all cultures come in. I never knew about most other African cultures until I came back to the United States. And when I left, I was so much of a little child that when I came back as an adult, I never knew about other African cultures, and that blows people's minds when I tell my friends, that blows their minds. But it's just the idea of educating yourself outside the very lukewarm education that we get in our schools. I mean, I'm still shocked again to learn more about more of African history and people like Marcus Garvey again, and I mean. After I left college, after I graduated from college, and it wasn't like I missed a class or something. I mean, it wasn't like I missed some African, or world history class. I mean, so at some level, we have to re-educate ourselves, our youth, and it's not only to re-educate the Black population, it's to re-educate the white and Black population, so everybody can understand the struggle that we're dealing with.
Sorry, if you want to mute your microphone. That's okay. Mayor, I feel like you're giving a very political answer because you are a politician. So I'm going to just, say something to you right now, and I'm going to put you on the limelight. And forgive me, because you guys, I know Mayor very well. We go back. We have conversations. Mayor, you're an African, right? You're born African. You grew up here in America. You sound very American. You're pretty much like Americanized. You said something to me, and I hate to say this. You said African women. I don't know if you said this, but that's what I heard. I heard you say something like, you're not exactly 100% open to dating African women.
No, first of all, it's funny. No. Hear me. I have dated many folks that you would consider African with first and second generation. I have, I guess I don't know what I said that made you think that I'm open to dating anybody. I'm open to dating Asians or Hispanic or whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. It's about the content of the character. It's about who they are. It's about do they wake up every day and want to be a producer or they want to be a consumer. I mean, it's about what they bring to the table. That's so yeah. It's not. I think what I might have said to you was that being raised American and being born and raised American, mostly more American than in Africa, I have assumed that culture, so I have dual culture, right? Like the young lady that you were reading her thing earlier, she said she goes to Africa. People will say she's American. She comes back and people say she's African. So yeah, trust me, people do pick out the accent real quick, and they let me know that I'm not American enough. So I get that from both sides. Okay. But through all that, I being raised and growing up as a man in college and in high school and in college and as an adult and dating in America. I only know of American dating life. What I was saying was that makes me so whenever I meet somebody, if they're not of that form, then I'm often not interactive with them. Okay. However, it's not because I don't want to date them. It's because that's what I mean, no. If I if I grew up listening to Juvie and all that, in college, I'm not going out looking for the woman that Juvie is not talking about. So, I hope you understand what I'm saying. So
no, that's perfect. Thanks for clarifying. It's because of you.
And it's not my fault. It's just I grew up.
You're fine. You associate better with the people here, so that makes total sense. On that note, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We have a lot of comments coming in. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Each year, over 100,000 of America's elderly, suffering from one or more chronic conditions, will die from adverse drug reactions or from mismanaged medications. We're on a mission to resolve this health crisis, one patient at a time, through our revolutionary telehealth technology. Invest with us, and let's save American lives.
All right, welcome back, you guys. So we're continuing on the conversation. As an African American, would you marry an African? And as an African, would you marry an African American? Thank you guys so much for staying and watching. So, we stopped where I was kind of attacking Mayo.
Boy, put me in a hot spot. You know, you got me sweating and stuff. You know, but it's all good.
Mayo, you're so good. I had to put you on the hot spot.
It's okay. It's
We
okay.
have a lot of comments coming. I want to go through some comments. So Stephen Oyemeke said, I blame the two sides for division. We need to respect each other. Both sides are guilty of name calling. Right? Dayara said, yes, we need each other so much. Divine Pearl Makeup Artistry said, my mother-in-law married an African man who told her he was a Nigerian prince, and she believed him. They got married, but they don't live together, which I don't understand. So Divine, is he an African prince though? I wanna hear. Did he lie? Like, I want to hear. That's like juicy story. So Brittany says, my dad is the eldest son and felt it was his responsibility to help his family back in Nigeria. This had an impact on my family, and I felt part of Nigerian struggle, small part. So this is actually very true because the culture is very different, right? And as Africans, we tend to have to help our people back home. And even African Americans, something that people call the black tax. Right? When you go to school here and you grow, you have to go back and pull your family back up. And that's not something we see in the white community, essentially. So more comment. We have a comment from Don and Zilly. He said, Kese, so this is Kese's people. Teach them about Istakazelo. Is that it? And how they can be used as a bridge to identify, maybe possibly unite Africans in America. In case I want to hear about that from you, but let me go through more comments. So we have one from A. She said, yes, the fact that the African man were God-fearing won me. That's another story. Yes, ma'am. And this is in response to what Laneka was saying. Tema said, I have heard stories that African men marry American women just to get papers. And that man has a whole family back in his country. And the American woman doesn't know that. Unfortunately, this stuck in our minds. So one more comment, and then we can go, because I feel like Kese wants to say something. Yolanda, we haven't heard from you, so I'll come to you and then Kese, but one more comment. Divine Pearl said, I think he lied to her. This is about, the guy saying he's a prince. I think he lied to her because she literally thinks that she's a queen. And they don't live together because he told her some story that in Nigerian tradition not to live together. This is so interesting. This is very, very interesting. Kese, I want to hear from you. I feel like you have a comment about the paper again. You're mute.
Yeah, like I just said, I just don't get it. Why these stories stick with our people. I mean, we've got a whole lot of white men that migrate, like that bring Asian women to America. But when you see them together, this paperwork issue is not a thing. And like a lot of Asian women are in America single. They came with a lot of white men who they later broke up with. So why is it that when we want to be with you guys, it cannot be genuine? What about our blackness or us migrating to America makes you guys feel like we are going to take away something? Date French women, Americans bring Russian models all the time. I don't see this happening, but why do we have so much self-hate that when it's us, we see each other as like opportunists? So it stems back to like people coming into Black people coming to America, and then people assuming that they're there to take jobs. Like America has everybody from everywhere. Why is it always a big deal when it's Africans? And the whole thing of you guys calling us Africans sometimes even rubs me the wrong way, because Americans are just so proud to be who they are. I don't even feel like you guys try to learn about which place in Africa you're talking about. I've told many of my friends I'm from South Africa, but this is my friend, she's from Africa, and I'm very proud of the fact that I'm from South Africa. So if you can be so hard-headed about the fact that you are from New York, and everybody has to realize that you're from New York. When I say I'm from Johannesburg, best believe I want you to remember, you know. So I just feel like we just need to be more attentive. I feel like we've done that. We try so hard to relate to you and your struggles, and it's time for you guys to reciprocate, and that's just that.
You know what, Kessie? I really appreciate your honesty, and you don't even, girl, you don't care. You came to just put it all on the table, and I'm loving it, because these are the things that I hear behind the scene. These are the little pocket conversations we have, and that is why I wanted to have this conversation. What are we talking about behind the scene? Let's bring it out to the open so we can begin the process of healing and unifying our communities. Yolanda, I haven't heard from you. What comment do you have to all of this?
My comment is this: I'm an African American woman here, and my comment is that we here are put, like the same thing that she said, we're putting all in one too. When you talk about American women, you put me as far as everyone, that African American women don't do this. But you don't know. North and South is different. East and West is different. You know, we're not just one bubble. I remember 5 years ago, before all this, let's say global, doing business in Africa, I've done my business 5 years ago. First thing they said, oh, you don't want to do business in Nigeria. They're scam artists. They're this is this. And I said, okay, but the biggest scam artist is in the United States. We have big scam artists, the banks. What happened in Houston with all the banks, white people were jumping out of windows, and those were the biggest scam artists, and no one says anything about that. And I agree with her. No one says anything about Russians, but it does happen there too. Russians, and they come over here and they want their papers. It happens, but it always, with Black people, it's a lot more, it's bigger than it is. Now, yes, they are Africans, and I have people, and I've known a guy that's Nigerian. He had a friend that went over here, got a woman over here, got her pregnant, got her papers. It does happen, okay? But it's not everybody. It's not the whole of Africa. And it's with us too. It's not all of American Black women or Black men do this. We don't like Africans. We call them that. I have never called one person from Africa descent a name. I don't know. I also knew about Africa. I knew about a lot of things in Africa. I knew about the countries. I knew about the cities. So all of us are not here blinded by, we don't know what's going on in Africa. If that's not so. We have people here in the United States who are Black, know a lot more things about Africa. We know there's different countries in Africa. I knew about South Africa. I knew about a lot of things in South Africa. I knew about the struggles in South Africa. It was kind of like our struggles, but that's, like I say, it's like America with anything, especially with us, they don't want us to hear about different things. Like in South Africa, back in the 80s, whatever, they didn't want us to know what South Africa was going through. They censored a lot of things. They, United States go over to other countries and say, we don't like human rights and all this censor and everything, but we have our problems right here in this country that we don't want anybody else to know, so
Yolanda,
okay, go ahead.
No. You shared so much. I'm so glad you said that. And what I took from what you said is we cannot just judge the whole, right? It's never the whole body. It's never the whole population. That's very key. I want to read some comments and I want to come back to Laneka because I feel like you have some things to share. So Tiger said, many Black American women have been dogged out by scamming green card chasers, lied to, impregnated, and left alone. It's made most very hesitant to date African men. And to be honest, you guys might disagree, but I have heard this comment a lot. This is what, I have heard a lot. Again, just to add, you guys, if you're loving this conversation, please share it on Facebook. Take the YouTube link, share it with your people. Let's have a community conversation. So we have more comments. Akim Lolu said, to summarize it all, our Creator created us all as one in his own image, but race and color brought division into societies. Asians do more, Hispanics do more, but Africans are just allowed. So Diana said, a lot of times when I ask African people where they're from, They say, oh, Africa or West Africa. And I press them and say, well, duh, but what country in Africa? I love learning about other cultures. I love learning about other cultures. You know, Kessie, I feel like I'm coming to you a lot, but I do want to say, because you brought up a very, very important, sensitive point about this whole, generalizing everybody. What would you like African Americans to do moving forward? Yolanda has said it's not the whole. But from your perspective, I feel like this angers you. And as an African, yes, it does hurt me too. I want to be referred to as a Nigerian, not just an African. I went to high school here and I experienced so much racism within my own race, to be honest, right? So what would you like to African Americans to do, Kessie, to change this completely?
I feel like they need to unlearn everything that they feel like they know about Africa.
Okay.
And learn, like just genuinely, and just not learn to go through material, but just to understand us as a people. Having this topic be about dating, I've had an experience of seeing someone briefly who was American. And the only reason I believe it worked out, it was the fact that he had spent so much time in South Africa and understanding where exactly I am from. And I feel like a lot of times in our relationships, it's usually African men that move to America with their African women and stuff, but they never move to Africa. Like a lot of times the couples don't move to Africa, they leave. And I think also staying gives them a better perspective of exactly where their partners are from and like how, like their perspectives over a lot of things. So I just believe that we have to like unlearn everything that we've learned and just start learning from scratch.
Can I ask you this, Laneka? And I love that, unlearn. Don't you think Africans as well need to unlearn what we've learned about African Americans, right? Because sometimes, even in my little pocket circles, you hear a lot of bad comments about African Americans, the morals, how they act, and this and that. Too many Africans use the word ghetto, and it's not in a positive, cool way. So, Laneka, you've been an African American woman. Would you also agree with Kessie that Africans need to unlearn some things so we can start unifying? And I'll go to you, Mayo, after Laneka speaks.
That is absolutely true. I truly believe Africans need to learn who we are. And the reason why I say that, because from experience, my husband actually said that he didn't know if he actually would have listened to media, books, what movies actually said about African Americans, he would have actually, and I just have to be honest, missed out on an exceptional queen like myself, because what the world had said about African Americans, it wasn't true, because I'm an exceptional Black woman. And so he would have missed out on someone like myself. So you have to really not assume and not put everyone. I hear a lot of comments, and we cannot box the world, one culture up with what a certain person actually do, because we're not all the same. And that's what each individual needs to actually do. Don't put me in a box. And that's what a lot of people actually, when they come to me, and if they start talking about any culture, not only, yes, I have a place in my heart about Africans, Nigerians, whatever type of race it is. But I will tell you, do not box them in, because everyone is different in their own way. And so that, for me, learn who that person is, find out who the African is, find out who American is. Everyone is built on by their spiritual belief, by their upbringing, by their own foundation. They're not built on because of their culture. Some of them are built on their culture, but some of them are built on different ways. And so don't box me in, because I'm not ghetto because I'm a African American. I'm far beyond ghetto. Now you want me to act ghetto, I can my husband said I'm an adapter, so I can adapt to any situation.
Okay.
But that's the situation that a lot of us are actually boxing the culture in, and that's the problem. So do we actually really believe that that is the problem? Do we actually believe that we're going to be here in this world? This world is too big for us to actually believe that African American and Africans are going to stop with the mindset and say, hey, listen, I'm going to stop thinking a certain way about Americans, and Africans are going to stop thinking a certain way because their minds are already programmed. But no, learn the person. And hey, look, you will actually find someone that they're totally different from what the world is displaying them as.
You know, Laneka, thank you so much for making this comment. I really appreciate it. I want to go to Mayo, and you know, I did call you out, Mayo, and I do want to apologize because you know you're my person. But here's the thing, you know, just like because I'm like, oh, boy. Mayo's gonna come afterward.
No, it's all right. It's all right. You misunderstood me anyway, so that's what it was. So
I want to say this. This is not about me. I don't like making myself the subject, because this is about the panelists in this conversation. But to be honest, not even up until early this year did I say to myself, I'm not going to date an African American. Let's just be honest. I'm going to be flat out honest because of the cultural differences. I'm a person who's like, I don't want to start teaching you my culture. It's a lot, right? I don't have to deal with in-laws and the issues. So Mayo, I asked you that because you know what? This is what people are really feeling, but we're so afraid to speak up. Well, I do understand your point. So Mayo, what do you want to add to all of this sentiment on the table?
So a few things. First of all, I mean, at some point, we would all have to let go of our dogma. We all have this dogma that we come with, and again, this is what I do. This is what I do. You know, this world is a place for us to come learn about each other and love each other. I mean, I'm a poster of love. I mean, I love loving. So and I it's just at some point for you to love somebody, you gotta let go of whatever you come with and just try. I mean, when I stopped learning, I'll probably be 6'2" under the ground. I'm happy I'm 6'2" on top of the ground today. So I feel like I would never want to stop learning about somebody else, another culture, another race. So that's why for me it's easy for me to think of myself to want to date other cultures, whatever. Again, like the dating was probably the most mundane part of it, but what it can lead to, what it can turn into. I mean, I would love to travel the world. I mean, I collect globes. I love to travel so much. So one is just to let go of that dogma and to understand that stereotyping is something that we all do. I mean, even people who are research, when you think about research, I tell people all the time, when you talk about numbers, research are just like a written form of stereotyping, because at the end of the day, we're all sampling. So from the sample that you got, this is what you feel. So understand that there's a lot more out there that are better, or good, depending on what you consider better or not. Understand that there's a lot more out there that are different than the sample that you have. So from the sample that we've had, we're talking from the sample that we had. But really, to be honest with us, it don't matter what ethnic background you have. Like I bet you, like you're talking about African Americans, and I think we're all African Americans, but I'll leave that alone. But multi-generation African Americans, those folks right there, I'm telling you that within that sample, you will find folks that you probably feel like it will treat you the best in the world than some samples of some quote unquote Africans, which are first and second generation African Americans. So if you open your mind enough, you will find some. But the question is, do you want to take the time to find some, in the sense of maybe it's hard for you to find in the location that you're living right now. Last point is that until we really dive deep into traveling the world, I mean, and find out what each history of each country is. Until then, we would really know more about different areas. I would love again to see where we have most multi-generation African Americans in their education. They learn about Patrice Lumumba. They learn about what happened to him in Congo. They learn about the world history and what's going on in our foreign policies. Let's stop talking about all this like African Americans, them, us. We're all us. I'd rather use the word that what's going on with my brothers and sisters over in Africa, what's going on with my brothers and sisters over here, and opposed to you saying us, them, because what we're doing is helping out the white supremacists that have kept us apart from each other for so long. We're helping them out.
Mayo, I'm gonna very, very good point. Can everybody mute your microphones, please? Thank you so much. I'm gonna read some comments and we can go to Jovi. Jovi is in the house finally. The internet, finally, oh Lord. Jovi, so I'm going to read some comments and I want to hear what you have to say. Jovi is a Nigerian man, and I want to hear what he has to say, okay? So some comments. Monique said, slavery really did a number on the Black American man and woman. It creates a distrust of one another, and unfortunately, it flows through all types of relationship. Now, Tiger said, it's not racism if it's within your own race. Maybe misinformation or ethno-bigotry, but not racism. Thanks for that information, Tiger. I needed to hear that. So Tiger also said, Africans in America need to learn the true history of Black Americans. This is true. And not just wholesale believe white supremacist narratives. Now, I love this from Diara, or is it Diara? She said, can we also talk about how the various cultures stop calling us various names like Akata or Tubab? I'm not familiar with that name, or anything else to describe us as white or wild dogs and whatever. And this is true. So previously I had a conversation about bridging the gap between African Americans and Africans, and people on the panel brought that up. That name Akata that many Africans, call African Americans. What's Tubab or Tubab? Have you guys heard that term before? Can anybody explain it to the audience? I've never heard it before.
I think it went with what is it, Kunta Kinte? I think something like that. And they call them Tuba, something like that. It's like a white type of person, a white person.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Yolanda, for providing that information. Jovi, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on all of this? Don't be political, okay? Go in. You're on mute, Jovi. Oh, we can't hear you. Are you there? All right, so I'll give you a second to connect back. Are you there? Can you hear me though, Jovi? No, yeah, we're gonna give you a second.
I have a comment though.
Yeah, Yolanda, please, yes.
I have a comment. I went to an economist and I asked him, I was telling him about my business in Nigeria and the business in Ghana with me and Tama. And he was a white guy. And he said, wow. And then he said, you're doing such a great thing. And we were talking about, and he was white. He knew about a lot of Black history. And he was talking about the separation. And he said, the separation is geared because if we are together on a lot of things, what would happen if we never had slavery? What would Africa be now? And for us to, we're separated because that's what they want us to do. They want us to separate. They want us to, because then if you look at under an economic, my money over here, but when we come together with the money that we roll around in the United States and bring that money to Africa, and we go back and forth with trade and commerce, we would be bigger than anything. So for me personally, it's an economic especially for the world that we're not together, because there's no other race are separated as much as we are. And it's a reason for me, in my mind, the reason why we're doing it. Like I was saying, I got so many negative things about people who never even went to Africa, why I shouldn't invest in Africa. And so my mother always said, when someone tells you not to do something, think about who's telling you not to do it and then go on from there. And I researched, believe me, I did not do it to say, okay, I'm going to invest in Africa. I researched. And I looked, I saw things, I looked at what the Nigerian president was saying about agriculture. And then I went and found someone we were on like mind. He wanted to do some things, I wanted to do some things, and we went together and we're doing well. But my thing is, and I tell everybody, it's a reason why they're splitting us up. It has nothing to do with, Africa's this way, American is this way. It's the reason, because when we are together on things, we do things bigger. And that's my whole thing is. It's a reason why we're not together. It's a reason, because that's what white man is trying to do. They're trying to split us up. Why would you do so much energy trying to put that much energy in a race of people? Oh, Africa's here, America's here, Caribbean's here. Why would you put that much energy in doing something like that? And that's what to me, economically, They don't want us to. It's better for us to split like that. It's better for Africa to be over here, United States over here, Caribbean over here. But we come together, in one big party, we will have more money than a whole bunch of people. And that's my whole take. My whole take on it.
Very powerful, Yolanda. So we have some comments, right? So A said, let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Jovi, but just hold on one second. We're going to read some comments and come to you finally. Whew, thank you, Lord. So A said, Yolanda is a very intelligent lady. I like her. And Tiger said, that's not Tiger. I clicked on Tiger, right? Tiger said, at this point, we are splitting ourselves up. Diara said, whole truth, invest in Africa. And if Africa was so bad, why do white people vacation there and buy land? Go home and experience it for yourself. Diara said, my business is African-based as well, and it's the wave of the future. Okay, Diara, drop your business so that we can support. Okay, we're all about supporting Black-owned businesses. So Jovi, what are your comments to all of this? Finally, we can hear from you. As a Nigerian man who migrated here, what are your thoughts?
Man, first of all, thank God for this whole technical issues, man. I had to run to a facility and log into their system to be able to join this panel. This is crazy. I've been trying to use my phone, and my phone goes in and out for reasons I can't explain. But now we're here. So first of all, I don't know if anybody has actually saw this map before. It says the world needs Africa. Africa don't need the world. If you look into every natural and mineral resources, the world functioning right now, the whole world, every one of those things is found in Africa. Not just found in big pieces, but in large quantity that can serve the whole world. The mineral resources we use for gadgets and all this stuff right now is found in the Congo. And people, guess what is happening in the Congo? Crisis upon crisis, fighting upon fighting, tribes fighting each other, and the outside world comes in and collect the mineral resources for free. They enslave children to pick up these resources for them to be able to use it and make money here in the Western world, while in Africa, everybody is killing each other and fighting each other. The main issue here is not even marriage and whatever. The main issue is they're trying to split Africa so we don't love ourselves, so their plan can be achieved. Because if Africa come together and we become one big family, I do not care where you are, African American, whatever. If the Black race can come together and be solidified, then we don't have an issue.
Okay.
Because if you watch closely, I'm in Houston, we see the Asian community. You never see them talk about their differences. They always talk about progress. The next Chinese person might not like the Vietnamese person next door, but guess what? They're gonna support them to make sure they're good. But Africans and Black people, I really do not know what the issue is, but that never happened. If that can happen, we put our differences aside and push ourselves up, the world will keep coming to us. But by that time, we're going to be the ones calling the shots and not them calling the shots. Because right now, they're calling the shots. We're not doing anything with everything that we have. And first of all, my wife is a Black woman. African American lady from St. Louis. We have 2 beautiful kids, and I'm becoming a little bit, African American, and she's becoming a little bit African.
Okay.
Actually, yesterday I just gave her a new Nigerian name. So yeah.
What did you give her? What Nigerian name did you give her?
Eseoken, and it means the gift of God.
Okay. How powerful! Look at Laneka. Laneka, you're so funny. No, very well said.
So,
what's that?
So my name is a BK.
What does that mean?
I got one too. I got one too.
So you don't know what it means?
So I don't know.
Okay. So
I don't know what I sound so stupid, but I don't know what that means.
So it's And my mother-in-law had given it to me. It's to care for others. And before she even really knew who I was, she had given it to me. And that's what I actually do. I care for others.
No, thank you.
So I mean, it was just that connection. And so to even actually someone put in the comments that people get married and then they have a whole family over. And some people actually do. But I had the experience to go over to Nigeria and meet my family. To meet, I know my exceptional king don't have another wife or family. It's only one, and that's me.
Okay, Lynetta. Okay. You know, you're just as proud as Marquita in the comments. She's like, I'm the wife of Jovi. Let the world know I'm Jovi's wife. I'm right here. There's another comment from Monique. She said, the world is afraid of the Black race. We need to learn to love, respect, and honor each other. You know, guys, this has been such a great conversation. I want to slowly wrap up. We're like literally 1 hour, 15 minutes in. I want to hear from you guys. So I heard a lot of possible solutions, unlearn things, invest in each other. What else can we do to move past the wall that separates us and start working together? What else? I want to hear from everyone as a closing statement, and we can slowly wrap up.
All right. Let me just go in because I've been out of the show for a while. Let me go in real quick. The problem is African Americans, when they study their history, they're still angry with Africans with what happened many years ago. And Africans coming in from Africa, when they heard different lies and different statements about African Americans here, and they hate them. So many people do not actually know the truth of what is going on. They're just living off what they heard. You know, before I came to this country, all I know and see about African Americans is they're criminals, they're lazy, they don't do anything good. And that is what we see on TV when we watch movies. You never see African American man or female acting up, taking the lead role, or doing the best things in the movie. That is what people see outside America. But when you come in here and you live among the people and you see what they actually bring to the table, then it's a different narrative. Now, I'm gonna pose this question. How can we liberate the people that are not in America to actually clean the lens of how they see their fellow African Americans outside this world?
Wow.
And by what we've seen so far, music has done a very good work, and the internet has actually done a great work fixing those pictures, fixing those lenses. Now you can see Nigerian musicians, African musicians, you know, collabing with the African brothers here. Now the bridge has been crossed. We now know what is going on. Now nobody is giving us information. Now we can see information for ourselves. We can get those information. People now actually see everything clear. And I think in the next 10, 20 years, this conversation will be different. We actually have to give ourselves time for everybody to actually get to know each other greatly and actually, you know, solidify the bridge. And when it comes, and I'm gonna wrap up with this. When it comes to marriage, I think the difference is the beauty. You know, the difference in the culture is the beauty. You know, now, before I came to this country, I don't know what mac and cheese is. I don't know what collard greens are. But now I eat that thing good because my wife can cook it. You know, me, I know how to cook egusi soup very well. Now that is one of my wife's favorite. You know, so the difference is nice. Our children, they behave like Nigerians, they behave like Americans. So now when they grow up, they can actually act like African Americans and Nigeria. Why? Because me and my wife will come together and actually create that special fluid when it comes to, you know, blackness. You know, so yeah.
Okay, Jovi coming through. So someone said, Alexis said, Thank you, Jovi. This conversation always seems so one-sided. We African Americans are stereotyped far too often. And then Makita, your wife, Jovi, said, "We built America. I don't see nothing lazy about that." Okay, Makita being very, very, out there, powerful with her statement. And she's like, "Come on, baby." Okay. And then one more coming from Anita. She said, "We must share culture. That is the beginning of healing." Jeffrey, I haven't heard from you. Final words from you so that I can move to other panelists.
Yes, I mean, it's just been a great conversation, a great dialogue. I think one of the healing points or a call to action is that we continue the conversation. I think that what your show is doing and the panelists that you bring together, I think that we need to come together, have a think tank, and actually start solving these issues. And one of the things that you got to do is realize that this is going to take time. If you look at it at a burn victim, we had severe burns. I mean, we have burns all over us, and that we have to come together, tend to those wounds, and be able to make sure that we can come together and remove all the differences by allowing us to understand the differences. Meaning that you have to set up the dialogue. You have to be willing to come to the table and be transparent. And the transparency is what's going to be able to bridge the gap. But one thing that Jovi said that is so key right now, if we came together, stood in unity, we stood united, that everything is in Africa. It's everything that we need to be able to be self-sufficient is there. One of the heroes that is Mr. Gaddafi. Mr. Gaddafi had one of the things that came together was bridging the gap, and I know we don't have time, but that's another story. But I really, really think that coming together, continue to talk. I enjoy being part of the panel. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and I respect your
Thank you, Jeffrey.
positions.
It's been a pleasure having you. I want to hear from Yolanda next.
Okay. My thing is, I think we over here need to travel more. And that's just my whole thing. We need to travel more. We need to come out of our little cubby holes and go elsewhere. When I went to like I always say Nigeria, because that's my heart. Okay. But I went to Nigeria and I couldn't even move a space because they all wanted to ask me questions. They all wanted to, okay, what do you do here? How do you do this? What do you do? What do you think about this? Is this true? Is this true? What's between the rapping? I mean, I don't listen to rap music, but I kept saying, well, that's from the South. That's not from the North. We do things differently. And it educated them that to that point is that I was over there. They're seeing me as an American. And I think more of us here need to get out and go there. But also I feel that Africa as a whole should make it easy for us to go there. Jews here, they talk about the Jews all the time. But if I don't care, if I'm born a Jew, I can go to Israel without, so easily, passport and all. But for me, I have so many levels. Okay, I gotta get this, I gotta get this, I gotta get this. I wanted to go and I wanted to enlighten myself. But I feel that Americans here, we need, because we don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to go anywhere for education. We don't have to go for a better life or anything. We're here. So we stay here. If we'll go to the Caribbean, we'll go to Mexico. But how many of us go to Africa? We don't, he's like, oh, I don't want to go. I heard you hearing, but you don't, you need to go and experience it. And I think that would enlighten us. That would be, you come back a different person. I tell everybody, you go to Africa, you come back a different person. If it's nothing but, like you said, the electricity, that cold water, you come back a different person, and I did, and I liked myself, and I see things when I came back. If you ever go to Africa and you come back, you see things a whole lot different. It opens your brain, and that's the only thing I would say. To make us a little bit better, we need to go to Africa to experience it for ourselves and not let other people tell us what it is. That's my whole thing.
Lynette, I want to hear from you.
Okay, I just want to thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to be here to speak on this topic. It was an exceptional topic. And since I am married, I want to speak to the married couples that are African American and African, the first thing, if you build your foundation on God first, I truly believe you'll have a exceptional home. Second thing, become friends. If you become friends and learn how to communicate with each other, I think it'll go well. Having patience and understanding. I think your house, having a house of prayer, being able to pray together, I think you will do actually great as well together. Having those things, you won't go wrong in your household. Even when times get rough, you have God, your house is built on foundation. You're able to communicate, to tell each other the good, the bad, the ugly. You'll do good. You're able to pray through the good times, the bad times, when it's, hey, you're great. And I think you'll be able to talk about the different cultures. You'll be able to have patience with each other. Hey, when I'm saying things that you don't like, Africans, Nigerians, sometimes my husband tone, because of his mood swing, it may not sit well with me, because but my understanding, I'm able to understand him. Hey, but through God, all things are possible. We're able to understand. He's able to understand me when I'm in my 50th mood swing. And I truly believe you'll be able to have a successful marriage.
Thank you,
So that's
Lamenta.
what
I
I should have to
appreciate
say.
it. Thank you. Daniel, I want to hear from you next, and then Kese will be the last.
Okay, everyone. So, hey, again, it's a pleasure, honor, just be on same panel with all y'all. Again, it's a beautiful thing. Just I can feel the love flow through the computer and through me, and I got much love for everybody. First of all, let love guide you. And we talking about solutions here. Let love guide you. Love comes in different ways. It's like music. It's not one type of music that I've not listened to in my life and not liked one. So let love guide you in that kind of way too. Secondly, unbox each other. Let's unbox each other. We put each other in all these boxes, and when you meet somebody, unbox them. Find out what they're about, the traits that you like in them, and opposed to where they're from, who they are, all that kind of stuff. Those are all mundane things, at least to me. It's worked out for me that I've been able to fall in love with people without even, regardless of all those things that we're talking about today. So let's unbox each other. Let's find solidarity in the post separating each other, which is the same thing by unboxing each other. Let's learn about the mutual, the dual relationship between slavery and colonization. I mean, most of us, like the folks who dealt with slavery feel like, oh, you ain't dealt with something. The folks who dealt with colonization feel like you've not dealt with something that's hard. So we kind of look at each other's scars and compare our scars. Our scars are the same, made by similar people. So and we got it. As long as we know that, then we realize that there's not that much difference. Like I tell people a lot, and they're often amazed. And no offense to all the religious folks out there, but like that, in Nigeria there's a church on every corner, and if you told most Nigerian folks today that the white the picture of the white Jesus in their church is not, as a black thinking person in America, that we also have a picture of black Jesus in our churches, right? If you told them like there's something, there's issue with the picture of the white Jesus in Nigeria, you might get killed. So I mean, because you're at this point, you're attacking their mindset of what God and Charlton Heston, I think his name, in the movie, we all have those images that we grew up with, those images of what God is supposed to be white. So if can you imagine the level of intellectual slavery that we've been to, in the sense of Nigerian folks, and at the same time, go back here and talk about Mariah Stewart, and folks, just folks trying to free themselves. We've seen the movie Roots, but there's so many names, untold names of people that dealt with slavery, and just brutalization that most folks who live in the African continent do not understand the depth of it. The Medgar Evers, a guy being shot because he's trying to register folks to vote in front of his daughter, all those stories. When you hear those stories and you see that they're all similar, then we will realize that we need not to fight each other or compare. And I think what happens most of the time is that because our race just seems to be the race that struggles the most. I remember every World Cup I'm watching, I'm saying, it's not only American. It's not only, it's every around the globe. It's the West. The way they look at us, people throwing bananas on the field when they see African teams playing. So the racism is deep. It's around the globe. So we struggle around the globe. And when people are like at the bottom of the totem pole, not because of the way we are natural, just because of the way people have put us. When you at the bottom of the totem pole, then you seem to start fighting each other. It's kind of like the crab in the barrel type deal. So we need to fight that natural. Last point. We need to fight that naturally. The natural fight that. And and the last thing is, don't forget about the brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. We're all black. Black is global. Let's keep fighting and make it happen.
And can everyone mute your microphone so there's no echo? And then last but not least, Kese, I want to hear from you. Final comments, final thoughts. How do we move forward?
Thank you, Nia, for inviting me to join the panel.
I was a African lady.
It was really a learning experience, and I learned a lot. I very much welcome conversations about, engaging with each other, and like Americans taking time to travel and learn about African people and Africa. I was watching the Daily Show the other time. I just go over on YouTube and I watch a couple of old videos because I love Trevor Noah. And he had an insert on the show where he was showing different countries around the world versus places in Africa. And he went through a whole lot of different Americans, and it kept on saying the rundown places were Africa. But they were not. They were actually in the US, So it made me so aware of how, in as much as there is talk about getting to know where African Americans are from, there is just little activism on the issue. I feel like you need to educate your young children and let them keep their long, hard to pronounce Black names, let them not see African students at class as there's a new African student in the class, there's a new Black person in the class. Get over it and relate, And even though I do welcome conversations about investing in Africa, Africa is sensitive. She's been looted. Africans don't own a lot in Africa. So even though I do welcome such conversations, I need that to be handled with love and not taking away from Africa like we have the rest of the world doing, So yeah, I want to thank you. I think we need to utilize platforms like these. I see on social media, the Black travel groups there, whatever groups that this platform is amazing. I wish I found out about it sooner. I just want to big you up for what you do. I think it was really good.
Shout out to the host.
That was so powerful, Kese. Thank you for saying that. Let's maintain our African names. Let's keep traveling, like Yolanda said. I really appreciate you guys. We have some comments before we close out. A lot of people are really enjoying this. So Akini Adoyo said, an empathetic approach to the manifestations of our unique trauma is key to beginning to find solutions. Appeal to the logic will not help us. Let's get proximate and let's get to the roots without comparing and competing. Right? Let's see, what other comments do we have? We have a comment from Monique. Monique, she said, we have access to see one another through our own lenses, not through white media. I can't wait to visit Africa. Come, girl, we're waiting for you. Come on. Tony said, mutual love and mutual respect is the first step to dialogue. Neither side should put up air of superiority. Beauty and strength lie in unity. James Smith said, slavery tainted the Africans' belief system that are not African. We have the same roots, and in spite of religious differences, we are the same people. Rwanda and Ghana are allowing African Americans to repopulate to Africa based on the fact that they were kidnapped. I travel to Ethiopia every couple of years, and the Africans still have a caste system in place. Since the late 60s, there was a major influx of Nigerians marrying into the African-American culture. Now it's all Africans. It's all about understanding each other's cultural references to the same issues. Let's see, am I missing anything else? This is a very good comment, James. I think I'm missing because it's in parts. It says, our scars were made by similar people. The term Black Madonna or Black Virgin tends to refer to statues or paintings in Western Christendom of the Blessed Virgin Mary and the infant Jesus, where both figures are depicted as Black. The Black Madonna can be found both in Catholic and Orthodox countries. And this is in response to Mayor's comment about Black Jesus, white Jesus. Stephen Oyemeke said, LOL, so true, white Jesus in Africa. That's a whole different conversation. We're going to come back to that conversation, okay? We're going to come back for that conversation. But I just want to say thank you all so much for adding substantial value to this conversation. You guys are just so amazing, so beautiful. You know me, I love, love, love having conversations. So if you guys want to come on my show and talk, please email niablackstudios@gmail.com. If you have an idea of the topic you want me to discuss, I'm all about hitting those hard issues that no one wants to talk about. Let me know, okay? Send me an email, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, and let's have these conversations. I want to give a special shout out to our sponsor for today's video. Our sponsor is PharmD Live. PharmD Live is a Black-owned telehealth company that helps older citizens with adverse drug reactions. By investing in this company, you not only support the mission of the company, but you become a stockholder. So for more information on how to invest, I'm going to be putting the description and in the comment section for today's conversation. Thank you guys so much, panelists. I want to say thank you all for being just so amazing. You guys are so cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And everyone who's been supporting Nia from the beginning. I love you all so much. Thank you. Bye, guys. Take care. Let's continue the conversation.